Welcome to
What is up,
Wild
everyone? Welcome back to the jungle. This is Thing 1 with Wild Rift University. Today, I got a really exciting video for you.
Minions have
We are
spawned.
going to go over basically a laning guide and a little bit of an advanced ganking guide as well. If you're always wondering like, hey, how can I be a better laner? How can I not get owned by jungle so much? Or how can I take advantage of the jungler? This guide right here is going to kind of give you a breakdown on how to do all of that. Okay, so if you have any questions, just let me know. Give me a second here. I'm just trying
turret
to
is under attack.
make my build so I can actually get around the map the fastest. Gonna do kind of a silly troll build, but going all based off of movement speed here, just so we can get around as quick as possible. All right, where is it? You know exactly what I'm looking for. There we go. All right, we can move
Middle turret is
quickly
under
now.
attack.
So, all right. So, first things that I want to kind of like go over, things that I see people do in games that they really shouldn't be doing.
So long I've wanted.
A lot of times. So, when you're a mid laner, okay, we'll start here since this is actually just where the game started. I see so often where people are doing exactly this right here. They're sitting in the lane just like this, okay? So just for a little context, I am a jungle main, and I do play all roles, but jungle is by far my best role. But I am good at all other roles as well. I can play basically all of the roles at a GM level.
My hands are stained.
So when I'm talking about when I say I see people sitting in lane, mid laners sitting in lane just like this, and the reason why I'm using practice mode is because it's going to allow me to show the most examples, the easiest. So they'll sit in lane with the person, whoever it is, and they're trading back and forth just like this, trying to get CS. And what they'll do is they'll come over here and they will put a ward down, let's say like right here when the game starts. Then while that's going on, they're just sitting in lane just like this.
My spirit is not lost.
Okay, or maybe they're over here.
We've crossed the line.
Now, the reason why this is a problem, and the reason why this is really causing you to die to more ganks, as a jungler, when I see this, I get ecstatic, okay? Something that would help you, one,
So long.
do better in lane. So example, think if you're matching against an Orianna or a Ziggs or some champion that just has a ton of clear and great poke. If you're standing behind a wave, you're going to get poked out like crazy because it allows them to do two things. One, it allows them to hit your minions and to poke you at the same time. What you're really wanting to do is something more like this, okay, while you're in lane. If you can, you're wanting to do more so like a stand to the side of the lane. Now, you're not going to always be able to stand to the side of the lane. Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not, okay? Sometimes you will have to go behind it. But standing beside the lane towards the side you have warded, okay? You want to lean towards the side that you have warded. The reason why you want to do that is it gives you the optimal amount of time to exit if a jungler comes. Or what it does is it gives you the optimal amount of time to bait that gank into you, so that way you waste that jungler's time. But usually what happens is kids stay right in the middle, or I see they always go to the opposite side of where their ward is. And what that basically does is it ends up allowing you to not utilize the vision that you have on the map to your advantage. Because if I'm sitting over here, the jungler could be coming right here. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. But if I'm over here, I have tons of time. I have half the river to know that he's on his way. And I can make him think I'm going to stay. And then once he gets too close, I can start to just back off and waste his time. And then if he starts to get a little closer, I can act like I'm coming back in, back and forth, and just make him think like, okay, I don't know, what is this person doing? And wasting the jungler's time is basically a game for a laner towards a jungler. There's nothing that sets a jungler back more. But if you're sitting on this side of the map, it really hurts you, okay? It really hurts you. So just a quick little mid lane tip.
My
That's
hands are
one
stained.
thing that I see tons of mid laners do all the time, and it drives me insane, okay? So that was the one little mid laner tip that I wanted to do real quick. Let's see here. Let me stop this bot right here real fast. Okay.
How should I proceed?
Let's go. I want to go down to bot real fast and kind of like talk about bot lane, because one of the things I kind of want to talk about is support real fast. So one of the main things that I see happen in the support role, and it really does depend on the type of champion you have. So example, if you're playing brand support, it's not the best example, but it is a thing that people are doing right now, especially with just with the buffs and stuff right now. You do want to throw abilities a lot. But I see tons of supports who are throwing their shields, okay, like Janna, for example. Janna is a great example. I see Jannas all the time where they're just throwing abilities for no reason, okay? And their idea is like, oh, I'm going to poke. Well, you have to take the time to think for a second. Is my support champion the type of champion who gains value from their poking? Or is my support champion the type of champion that gains value from disengaging or enchanting my teammate? How does your champion give value? Yes, you have to poke. Yes, you have to engage. But so often I see players who don't actually think, how am I supposed to engage? How am I not supposed to engage this matchup? If you take some time to just sit there and think about like, okay, how should I engage this matchup? How should I engage this matchup? Should I be poking more? Should I be playing more on the defensive? Is it a good idea to waste my abilities? Because on some champions, like for example, if you have a Janna in your lane and you use your tornado and the enemy champion sees you use your tornado and they decide to act on it, well, now there's nothing you can really do to help disengage your champion if they hard engage on it. You have your slow, you have your shield, but it's a big ability that has massive impacts in fights that is now down. And just use this same logic. There's other champions who do the same thing, okay? Yes, you need to poke. I'm not saying don't poke at all and just sit in lane and do nothing. But use that same logic, it's like I'm talking like with a Janna. That's a champion, if you're thinking about a champion like that, that shouldn't just be throwing ability. The abilities need to be timed out. So a way that you would, how do you poke then, like as a Janna? You poke as you would basically ping your ADC, hey, let's go on this person. You would go in, you'd slow them, hopefully your ADC goes in, you'd shield your ADC, and as they try and run away, you try and knock them up with a tornado, or as they try to re-engage on you, you disengage with the tornado. Think about that with other champions that are like disengage and engage champions versus poke champions. You just got to kind of think about it in that retrospect, all right?
Choose your own path.
Another thing, like I've talked about this before, but you don't really need to, if you're coming into lane, you don't really need to ward until about like a minute 40, maybe a minute 30 at the earliest. But typically most champions can't even clear their jungle up until about, like the fastest champions can do it in about a minute 50. There's like maybe one or two champions that can do it a little faster than that, like a minute 40 something. So realistically, like about a minute 30 is when you could put down a lane in case somebody tries to do an early gank. So if you're down here, save the ward, because if you put it down right away, you're wasting time. The ward only gets so much life, so save the ward. It's going to pay you dividends from when you're getting ganked as well, okay? And then the same thing. If you see a jungler coming, you don't immediately run away, okay? You don't just immediately run away so you can come. You try to make him think you're going to stay, make him think you're going to engage, and then run away. Because by doing this, you're basically playing a game with the jungler. Imagine I'm the jungler right here. I'm like, oh, they're leaving. Okay, I'm coming. Oh, no, he's coming back. No, I'm just going back and forth like, oh, should I stay? Should I go? And if you're not at a high elo, a jungler isn't going to, a low elo jungler, like if you're in gold or silver or maybe platinum and even some emeralds, a lot of them aren't going to think, wait, I'm obviously standing on a ward because they're playing with my emotions. Okay, so they're gonna
Middle
misplay
turret
it.
is under attack.
It's pretty common. It's actually super common. So think about it like that. Think about it like that.
Choose your own
All right.
path.
Next thing I kind of want to talk about real fast, since you know what you done it, I want to talk about like a little bit more advanced ganking methods. Okay, so let's say I'm actually on the red team over here, and I know there is a ward right here. Okay, so I can't gank this way because I know there's a ward. Well, there's 3 other ways that I can gank, maybe 2 depending on the type of champion I have. Okay, so these would be more advanced gank modes, and there's only, for one of them, there's only one situation you can actually do it. So first one is lane ganking. Okay, lane ganking is underused a massive amount. Okay, so let's say once again we think there's a ward right over here, and we want to gank, and we're on this side. We can lane gank, so we can come through here. And then what we do, we can only do this though if the wave is currently pushed up here, so they can't see us, and it's pushing in this direction. So if let's say I'm red team, I know I'm not actually red team, but let's just say I'm, because I'm on this side of the map. If my team's wave is currently about right here, and their wave is bigger, pushing this way, what you can do, and they have vision all around in this area over here. Sorry, all around this vision area over here, so you can't gank. You can come around, sit in this bush, wait a little bit until the wave starts to push. They will be completely off guard, and then you ping your team, and boom, you just go right on in, you go full ham on it, okay? So that's one advanced ganking, but it has to be done that way. If it's not done that way, it won't work. Next one, okay, as long as they don't have this right here, the river scuttle, the next one you can do is this right here. You have to have a champ that can do this though. They can go over the wall. And then you wait a second, okay? A little bit more risky, this one, and the reason why, unless you have a sweeper, and big thing, another thing, junglers should be running sweeper, is so that way, so I don't know if you know this. If you have a sweeper and you clear a ward, it will actually show, it will show you that you cleared it. But if you just walk right past it, it actually blocks the vision of the ward for a second, okay? But you can jump this and then come around right here, okay? A more advanced jungle. Obviously, it's not like super, but it's a good way to get around if somebody has wards. If they have wards like in these bushes, it gives you a second. Because even if there is a ward in this bush, you have a really good angle on them. Even though they'll see you, because of your angle, it's going to give you a good advantage, okay? Next one, which I think you all can probably figure out what I'm going to say right now, and this is probably one of the most underutilized ganking routes, is right here. And the reason why this one's a really nice ganking route that's hardly ever used is you can also put deep wards into their jungle. And so like probably like a good spot to drop the ward if you have one would be either like right here, or like, right here, or you could just drop it like right in the tower range as you're coming. Or you could even just drop it like right here. The reason like here in the tower, but even right here is even better, is because what that will do for you basically is, let's say I'm ganking and this is the enemy tower. It will, one, let me know if the other jungler's coming to counter gank me, because most likely their jungler is going to be somewhere in one of these jungles or over here, somewhere like that. And they're probably going to come through this. And there's a good chance also that their mid laner may just come straight through the jungler. And if it's right here or there or up here, it's going to give me that vision a little bit sooner. Especially if I get them without a ward. Because if they have a ward, they're going to start running back towards me. But if they don't have a ward, then I'm going to catch them like right over here. And we'll be able to just go ham on it real fast. Okay? So that's a more advanced jungling tactic. Ganking tactic. Here's another really good one. So let's say you're right here. There was no ward here because your team put a pink here like they should. And then you come over here, you have your sweeper going, and they see you on a ward. And they know you're there, they saw you.
My hands are stained.
So this is what you do in this situation. You're just clearing this ward right now. Let's say the river scuttle is still up because you're doing an early gank. So the game just started. You're an early game champion. So you cleared red, and then you went to the Krugs, and then you came over here to gank. Okay? And then you cleared the ward. They saw you. Now they all backed up. That crappy's here. What you do is you clear the ward, and then right after you clear it, another thing that a lot of people don't realize, after you clear the ward for a second, it maintains vision for like 2 or 3 seconds. So what you want to do the second you clear it, start walking away and act like you're leaving and not even interested in coming back.
Choose your
Start clearing the river scuttle, okay? That will waste a little bit of time, and normally what will happen, especially in low elo, they'll think the jungler left, and then as soon as that happens, you head right back in and gank again. Now, like I said, that thing doesn't always work,
My hands are stained.
but it does work sometimes, okay? So there's just like another little advanced ganking method that you can do as well. And you can do that exact same thing on both sides of the map. It works on both sides of the map. You just basically have to,
First blood.
you know,
You have slain
switch the map
an
around and
enemy
realize, okay, this is
base.
my side of the map, that's their side of the map, so on and so forth, okay? Okay, so now top lane. One of the biggest things, I could show it mid lane, but I have so many items, I'm just going to keep killing the minions. One of the biggest things that I see a lot of people struggle with in the top lane
First turret destroyed.
is actually lane management. Actually, this is all lanes, which, man, I wish I'd put, can I have it send minions to all lanes? Let's see, all dummy, spawn once. No, I can't get, that's annoying. I wish I could send minions to all lanes, but unfortunately I can't. So, I may just have to do a regular mode to show minion management and how
Enemy
to
turret destroyed.
actually do the minion management, unfortunately.
So long
But
I've wanted.
what I can say with minion management is sometimes what you have to do is be able to look at your lane and think about it in this way. Like, okay, what is my objective in this lane? Is my objective to kill the enemy champion?
Is not lost.
Is my objective to survive the lane? Or is this lane a toss-up? Whoever plays it better wins the lane because we both kind of play it really well. And our champions are pretty even. So if you're playing a champion, for a good example, let's say you're playing
Enemy
Kale
turret
top lane.
destroyed.
okay, and you're versing something early game like a Renekton, you're going to want to try and keep the wave frozen to this
Choose
side
your
of the
own
map
path.
on the top lane as much as possible, okay, as much as possible. And how a lot of people actually mess this up is they use their abilities rather than just auto-attacking, okay? And then also when he starts to get... Basically, like, what you want to do is have him have about 1 or 2 more minions than you. If he has about 1 or 2 more minions than you, then you can basically freeze his lane
So
wherever it
long
is.
I've wandered.
Okay, 1 is better, but 1 is a little easier to mess up on. If it's 2, so imagine I have 5 minions right here. He has 7 minions right here. So I just need to keep clearing at the exact same rate he does. Okay? And by doing that, I do 2 things. Okay, 1, if I'm a Kale and I'm versing a Renekton, Renekton's obviously one of the stronger early game champions, I'm leaving him susceptible to a gank. Okay, if you're always annoyed because your jungler's never ganking you, well, all you have to do is this, and your jungler's going to start ganking you because he's like, oh snap, this lane's completely pushed up.
How should I
He's
proceed?
all by himself, and no one's nearby. I'm going to gank him. So a lot of times, like, my jungler never ganks me. Well, you have to think about what kind of lane is this? Why is a jungler going to gank when you're a Kale and you're versing a Renekton and you're both right in the middle of the lane? First of all, the Renekton's way stronger than you. There's a good chance he might be able to kill both of you. And 2, as soon as he comes, the Renekton's just going to dash, 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 and get out of there, okay? So you have to learn, how do I make this an enticing lane for my jungler to
How
gank?
should I proceed?
By freezing it. And I just told you how to freeze it. Let it have 1 or 2 more minions, clear at the exact same rate. If the Renekton goes ham on the wave, you go ham on the wave. If the Renekton goes slow on the wave, trying to let you push it, you let it go slow. If you accidentally kill too many minions,
Burdens of the
okay,
past.
it's okay actually to maybe sacrifice a minion to keep the freeze going, okay? Because sometimes what somebody will do, as soon as they mess up, like, oh crap, I messed up, and then they just push out the wave, and then what happens is the Renekton lets the wave push back to this side, and then you have to pull up in order to get farm. And then what the Renekton will either do is he'll stand like, let's say the wave is like right in this area right here, between these 2 wards. The Renekton then will either stand like right here to zone you from the wave and experience and then just go back to
Spirit is
last
not
hit.
lost.
Or he'll let you come up and then he's going to hard engage on you because he knows he can kill you early because your champion's weak. And then as soon as he gets you to back, he's going to hard shove the wave, let it reset, back, buy some items and things of that nature, okay? So you need to think about it that way.
So
And then
long I've
it's
wanted.
also the vice versa. Exactly what I'm saying to you, that's how you do the exact same thing if you're an early game champion. So like, let's say you're the Renekton trying to push and the Kale's freezing you. Well, you need to try as hard as you can to hard shove this wave under the tower
How should I proceed?
after and get your you want to get your lanes even so that way they're both together. So when I say you need to get your lanes even, what that basically means is, so as you know, you can see the wave coming up here
Engage.
and then you have a wave here.
Engage.
So what you want to do then
My
is
hands are still-
clear both your waves. You want to hard clear the wave so there's like 1 or 2 minions left on both sides, okay? And then once you'll clear all her waves and then you'll clear all her minions, okay, as the Renekton, and then your minions will push in and she'll have to either tank him or let her hit tower a little bit. And then what happens is when the next wave comes in, if they've done it right, your wave will crash in again. You're going to hard clear her wave as fast as possible with the big wave, which will set it. Then you're going to back, which will hopefully reset the reset. Now, let's say that doesn't work, okay? If that doesn't work, there's another strategy you can do. And this is a little bit of a risky strategy, but if you know what you're doing, it can work well. So the great thing about Wild Rift, and also the annoying thing about Wild Rift, if you don't last hit, you still get gold. So let's say this Kale is really good at hard freezing you. Well, what you can decide to do, because you know you're so much stronger than her, because realistically, if you're a Renekton and you're versing a Kale, she's not going to be able to beat you in a 1v1 until like probably 3 or 4 items, okay? You can just refuse to last hit, and the wave will naturally pull back to your way. And then once you have it, you're still getting gold, you're still getting spirits, you are sacrificing a little, but once you got that wave pulled back, you're forcing that kill, and you, because you're so much stronger, you can not only make her miss gold, you can also make her miss experience by completely zoning her. So like once again, if the wave's in between here and like right here because you pushed it back, you can just completely zone her off the wave, making her miss gold and experience. And then if she does come up, you can just go fight her real hard and extinguish her and get a kill, okay? Those are some like basic but also like advanced laning techniques that I see kids don't do. What they basically do is they get up there, they fight the wave, and sometimes they'll just immediately push it. You need to stop and ask yourself, why am I pushing this wave? What is the reason that I'm pushing this wave? Am I pushing this wave so I can back? Am I pushing this wave so he'll miss minions? Or am I just pushing this wave so that way now the lane's over here and that makes me more susceptible to a gank if I'm going this way and now the enemy's here and now I can get ganked because they have, a Lee Sin who could possibly come behind me now, and they have a Renekton, and I'm a Kale. And I'm just sitting right here, right by the tower, and it's all pushed up. I just made myself susceptible to the game. Use that same strategy on both sides. And really, the nice thing is that strategy I just talked about, it works in every single lane. The exact same thing I just talked about right here, it works in top, it works in mid, and it works in bot lane. And if you do this, what it will do, if you're always complaining that like, man, my jungler never ganks me, this is why. If you're not doing things like this, your jungler sometimes can't gank you because you're not giving reason for him to gank, okay? And then the other thing you need to think about setting up. Okay, so often I see people complain like, hey, my jungler never ganks. I see it in so many group chats and stuff that I'm in. And basically what they do when they're saying they're ganking, they're sitting in the lane, they're fighting, and right as they're, both at 10% health, they start pinging help, 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 help. They're both at 10% health, and then they die. Their jungler's like at their red, or their jungler's somewhere down here, and they're in the middle of a fight, and they start pinging because they realize they're about to lose the fight. Well, if you took the time and just hit your chat and say, hey, I'm going to let my lane push, gank, or say, hey, guess what? My lane's flash and igniter down, gank, it's a better chance that your jungler's going to gank. Or before, you set up the gank, like I said, by letting them push and start pinging your jungler, like, hey, the lane's pushing, let's gank this guy kind of thing. Doing things like that are actually going to get you better ganks, more successful ganks. Using that strategy that we talked about up here with how to control the minion waves, allowing more, 1 or 2 more minions on the enemy, to whether it is you're trying to push it towards them or freeze it. Because the other thing is, like, okay, for an example, there are going to be champions where you're going to want to keep them under their tower, okay? What's a champion like that, okay? So a good example of like a champion that, for me, I sometimes want to just keep under her tower. And this one can backfire on you, but for me, I like to try and keep Vayne under her tower because she's just so strong, and the more damage, the more minions she can possibly miss in the gold. I'm happy with that because if you keep it middle, she can still technically a lot of times fight you and beat you in a fight. But a lot of times what players won't do is, and not always, but it discourages, and you're always going by like percentages here. If you have if they realize they're going to have to miss a lot of minions, it might make them a little less likely to fight you right away. Especially if their minions are right here and you got a big group of minions right here, because they have to go past their minions. And then if you get engaged on that, like what the smart thing to do would be to fight in your minions so your minions fight with you and attack them as well. So that way they're getting attacked by you and the minions. And early that makes a huge difference, okay? It makes a huge difference. Yeah. So those are a couple of like the basic laning techniques. Leaning towards a ward, mid lane, is a big one. Just to kind of quick recap. Leaning towards a ward. And, standing on the side of the minions, okay? Lots of times I see people, they're always farming like this, right in here. Try farming like this. I'm not saying this is always the best way, but in certain situations, it makes it so much easier. Especially against something like a Ziggs, because the Ziggs he doesn't want to waste all of his mana just at poking you, because now he can't hard clear the wave, because Ziggs are good at hard clearing waves and pushing you under tower and making you miss minions. So if he's wasting all his mana trying to poke you and not pushing minions, he no longer will have mana to stop you from hard pushing him and making him miss minions. You have to think about it from these perspectives. What does this champ have to do to beat me? Okay? What are his win factors? And if you think about it from that perspective, it makes a massive difference. A massive difference, guys. A massive difference. Okay? And then once again, just to recap, top lane real fast. What you're wanting to do, if you're an early or a late game champion, try and let the wave push towards you, freeze it, 1 or 2 more minions, keep it going. The good thing about that is it allows him to be overextended, makes a jungler more likely to gank you, and then you a better chance of killing him, so that way you snowball early. As a stronger champion, what your goal is to get that late game champion to push you, so that way you lock it over on your side, and then you can deny him XP, gold, and farm. Okay? If you're the late game champion, it's going to be really hard to deny XP, gold, and farm. But if you're the early game champion, You want to hope that they accidentally overpush, and then you hard bully by standing, like I said. Let's just say the minions are, the back of the minions are right here, the front of the minions are right here of their team. You're going to just hard counter them. Like, nope, Kale, you're not getting gold, you're not getting XP, you're not getting farm, and then you, at the last second, hit, come back. Last second, hit, come back. And then it basically gives them a choice. If you're way stronger than them, they're either going to have to fight you, and then most likely you're going to win the fight, and they're going to have to back and run away. You're going to get hurt real bad, but then you can hard push the lane, get it under the tower, and have it reset, and do the exact same thing over again, okay? And then, once again, to kind of just go over minions, or re-go over bot lane, some of the big things that I see a lot of bot laners do, and it's really support. So support is like the most important role in the bot lane, really, especially early. You're the most important role. I know ADC thinks they're the most important role, but they're not. Utilizing your abilities at the right time. You don't just spam abilities to spam abilities. You use the ability when it gives you an advantage. When it gives you an advantage, okay? And then sometimes you're using the abilities to deny farm, okay? And then 80's bot lane, because it's a lane that gets ganked a lot. Top lane, if it's played correctly, each person should be freezing each other over and over again. So there's really no reason top lane should normally get ganked if being played correctly, because both lanes just freeze each other, 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 in order to try and scale, unless just one player's way better than the other and then he just dominates.
Choose your own
ADC, the lane you try to freeze, but it's a lot harder to freeze when there's two champions and you have, 4 brains trying to hit minions. And if your support doesn't know how to freeze, it makes it harder because maybe they're not attacking when they need to attack or attacking when they shouldn't attack. It makes it way more difficult. So the lane typically goes back and forth, way more often. One of the biggest things, like I say, can help you is timing out your wards together. Placing, like right here. I love putting a ward right here rather than putting the bush, putting it right here. The reason why, gives me vision as soon as the jungler comes out here. Gives me a little deeper vision over here. It kind of covers 2 things. It gives me quicker vision here. Then if I have it here, I don't really get the vision of the jungler until they're about right here. That half a second makes a difference. That half a second from right here to right here, it makes a difference on whether or not you're going to die. It really does. A lot of people don't think it does. I mean, because it really is. Look at how much. If you even, as long as you place it perfectly right here, look, they can still go right through this area right here on the side without even being seen, depending on where you're at, It's just, if you don't place it right, it makes a difference. But when you place it right here,
burdens of the past.
look at this. Look how much more valuable vision you get from that to that, And then, like I said, don't place it too early. Place it about, the earliest, a minute 30, okay? A minute 30. If you can't handle that, you can do a minute 20, but like, it's really pointless, unless the jungler is just hyper aggressive. He's just going to go red, immediately gank, or like red Krugs immediately gank, which, I mean, they very well could do that, but it is rare. But putting a ward down the second you get to lane is almost pointless because the camp doesn't even spawn until 17 seconds. And then they're probably not even going to finish that camp until about like 35, maybe 40 seconds, something like that, depending on the champion. Or, 30 or 40 seconds, depending on the champion. If you're putting it down right away, your ward's basically gone. Okay? So, all right, guys. Thank you for watching the video. There's so much more I could talk about, but I don't want to make the videos too long. And the informational videos can be, I know, sometimes a little bit more difficult to watch because there isn't necessarily as much action going around. It's more so information. But really, guys, these kind of videos are what make you better at the game. If you're watching this channel, my assumption is you're actually trying to get better at the game. You're not just looking for the next combo, the next item builds. You're like, I'm sick and tired of combos. I'm sick and tired of item builds. I want to actually learn how to play this game. I actually want to get better. That's why you're watching this channel, because this channel is going to give you the information that you're not getting from many other channels. It's information, it's decision making, it's knowledge that is the difference between you being the ELO you are and the ELO you want to be. The way you think about the game, the way you process the game, okay? And then last thing I just want to remind everybody, think about what does your enemy have to do to win, okay? Because if you think about what they have to do to win, it lets you know what you have to stop from happening in order for them to win. Because when a game starts, if you're not asking yourself, what do I have to do to win? Then that's a huge mistake. Oh, and then the other one is, once again, why am I pushing this wave? Ask yourself why you're doing things. You know, if you die to a gank, why did I die to a gank? Did I ward correctly? Did I lean to the right side? Was I wasting my disengage abilities if I'm a support? You know, if you're a top lane and you're pushed, you should be saving. If you don't want to ward while you're pushed in, if you know the wave's about to push you in, don't ward. Hold it until you push, so that way you have it at the right time. Think about those things. Think about those things. It makes a massive difference, guys. Anyways, thank you again for coming to Wild Rift University. I'm Thing1, and welcome back to the jungle. Can't wait to see you guys again in the next video. Peace out.